a theater space. She would work there for 14 years. Now let me tell you about Frances and all these people who you haven't heard about. Frances E. Williams is one of those people. I'm going to tell you projects that she was involved in, and you look for her name, you won't see it. You won't see it. That wasn't what she was about. But at Caramel House, she found something that she loved, the theater. And she got involved in every aspect of it. Acting, costumes, eventually directing. And she met amazing people. She met Paul Robeson, who would become one of her very best friends, as was Langston Hughes, and many other members of the Harlem Renaissance who would come there to do their plays. Well, Frances was studying theater, but there was a wall. She couldn't get past this wall. She was trying to go to colleges and universities to study theater, but they wouldn't let her in because she was black. Paul Robeson and Langston Hughes told her, you need to go to Russia and study theater there. They won't care that you're black. Langston Hughes hooked her up with someone who ran a school there, offered her his bank account. He had been in Russia. He had a bank account there. He probably wasn't going back. Gave it to her. She goes over to Russia, spends 2 years studying theater, every aspect of theater, encountering absolutely no mess while she was there. She comes back. Now she's ready. It's about 1938 or so when she comes back. 1941, she comes to Los Angeles. Comes to Los Angeles. She's got some friends out here that she's known from acting and what have you. One of her friends was Katherine Dunham. Frances immediately settles in, but Frances got some issues with Hollywood. Because back in those days, if you were a black woman and you were in a movie, you were wearing a bandana. And Frances wasn't wearing no bandana. She didn't work in a movie for 5 years because she refused to wear a bandana. At one point, she got a movie. She got Showboat. She got Showboat. And in Showboat, the black woman usually wore a 17 times they bought her a bandana. 17 times, she told them what to do with it. Frances wasn't shocked. Now, Frances and Charlotta Bass, they did some work together. All those restrictive covenants and what have you, all these things where people would invite you to spend your money in their store, but wouldn't let you work there. There was a store over on Adams, and they set up a boycott. Now, one of the people in this black community was, y'all remember Rochester? Jack Benny's boy? Rochester supported the white owner of the store as opposed to supporting Charlotta and Frances in their efforts. But they won. The owner conceded. And from that day on, whenever Frances drove into that parking lot, the owner came out and opened up the door for her. And she commented, he never showed Rochester any such courtesy. People have respect for you when you stand up for what you believe in. Now, Frances had learned every aspect of theater. She was involved in so many organizations. She was involved in everything. She was involved with everybody. She was in a movie with David Niven. David Niven loved him some Frances. In between takes, he would tell the crew stories. He wouldn't not nary one story till Frances came and would see it. One time during a scene, back in those days, they didn't give blacks lines. They just said, make something up. Frances was so good at making something up. When the main actors heard her, they were like, oh, we want her in our scene. She's going to make us look good. So in one of these scenes, Frances looked and people are evacuating the city, running out, And she was just supposed to run. And she said, I'm running to evacuate the city and I ain't got nothing to carry? So she balled up some newspaper, wrapped it in a blanket, and made it look like she was carrying something heavy. David Nimmons came home and said, no, you can't be carrying that. What? Fake him out. How many of you remember Inner City Cultural Center? All right. The Watts riots. Frances had a very personal connection to the Watts riots. Her niece, who had come out here to be with her, was the fourth person killed in the Watts riots. She was just driving in her car on her way to work, didn't even know what was going on. National Guard's bullets riddled her body. After the Watts riots, people started thinking we need to give an outlet for the blacks in the community. Thus, the Inner City Cultural Center. Now, two of the people, the president of the board was Gregory Peck. One of the other board members was Roman Polanski. And we all know how familiar they are with the black community in Los Angeles. Frances had been asked advice about this organization, but was not invited to be involved because Frances didn't take no mess. So, Inner City Cultural Center received $3 million to put on plays and functions in and for the black community. Well, Frances inserted herself in the thing. She went by one day. Theater space was being worked on. She knew the guy who was working on space. She went by and she listened. And she overheard some of the board members saying, $3 million. Now, you know niggas don't know what to do with that much money. We're going to have to do something about that. So Frances, who was not invited to be an actress in any of the productions, but she knew costumes. She knew stage managing. So that was her way in. And Frances started listening. Now, before I go on about that, let me tell you. How many of you all sew? Y'all know basting? Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm not talking about basting a turkey. That's a different kind of basting. Okay, that's a different kind of basting. Basting is a way of sewing that's very loose. It's not really, really tight, all right? Now, Frances was taking care of the costumes, and when the costumes came back from the cleaners, all these things and frills and things would be all torn up because they were basted as opposed to being sewn on properly. So she talked to the producer and director and said, this is foolishness. Bring me that costume woman. The costume woman got read up, down, and sideways. When Frances got through to her, I've never had anybody speak to me like that. Frances said, well, you've had a new experience. Let's slow this down. Now, Frances started listening to all this stuff. You know, it's very, Ralph Ellison wrote The Invisible Man. People act like we not here sometime, and they say that's anything. Well, they say anything, and Frances remembered. And at the end of the day, she'd write it down. And then she got together with C. Bernard Jackson, who was the director of the Inner City Cultural Center, got his secretary, and transcribed every bit of crap that was said. And then said, here, look at this. And got them all fired. But here's what a person Frances was. She got the director and the producer fired. A couple of days later, the director's wife comes and said, we've really enjoyed working with you. You're such a good organizer. Would you organize the going away party? She said, shut up, because you're going away. Now, I mentioned Paul Robeson. Frances was very good friends with Paul Robeson. One time, she was in New York. These people were working on a production, Salt of the Earth. Some of y'all remember that? Classic. Another one. She was the assistant director. You look at that movie, you will not see her name anywhere. Salt of the Earth. And they came to her when they started working on the project. The producer and director, they were blacklisted. They were one of this blacklisted group of people. And they came to her with how they were going to do this project. And she said, no, this isn't right. And they argued back and forth, back and forth. 2 in the morning, she said, look, I got to smoke a cigarette. She went out and smoked a cigarette and called Paul Robeson at 2 in the morning. Explained her situation. Paul said, I'll be right over. And he came over and they saw the light. Now, Francis was a person who believed that whenever you were confronted with difficulties, you have to, just like it says on the title of her biography, meet it, greet it, and defeat it. Francis was called before House Un-American Activities Committee. And people were encouraged to turn in friends, testify, and all these kind of things. Or else they'd be given a hard time. Their careers would be ruined. And so when they confronted Francis with this, she said, my friends have told me that I should cooperate with you all. Because if I don't, you will destroy my career. She says, I've worked on one film in the past 2 years. I ain't got a lot of career to destroy. So you all can just take this and you know what to do. Francis E. Williams, another one of those people, meted, greeted, and defeated. Francis worked with everybody. I encourage you to look up everybody that we've told you about. Google, and you will be amazed. You look at the people Francis knew and hung out with. Maya Angelou, Bea Richards, A. Philip Randolph, W.E.B. Du Bois, and so on, and Nat King Cole, Lena Horne. She got Lena Horne in one of her first gigs. All right, she was one of those people. But you won't see her name. And she was okay with that. One of the people I interviewed for this aspect of the story was Ben Caldwell over at Chaos Network in Leimert Park. And I said, well, can you tell me something about Francis? And he described a situation where there was some project they were working on, the Brotman Gallery, I believe, and situation occurred that Ben, who was actively involved in the project, though, wasn't going to be in the forefront because there was someone else who needed to be promoted for some reason. And Francis said to Ben, just suck it up, because that's what I've been doing, because that's what we do. They're not trying to be famous. Nobody here was trying to be famous. None of these people was trying to make a name for themselves. They were trying to take care of their families. They were trying to be good teachers. They were kind of let people know what was going on. People don't know about it, but now you do. Tell somebody. Tell somebody. If it's only one person, you tell somebody. Because that's one more person that knows. Because these people need to be sung. They don't need to be unsung. Hit a note for them. They need to be sung. Sing these people. We've enjoyed, we've loved doing this project. Go to the Southern California Library. They got information about these people and a whole bunch of more. People who, when you're walking around this city of Los Angeles, you're very likely walking in the presence of history. And that's the